Good afternoon. This is Sula Barial, Transportation Planning Manager at Plan RVA. This recording is for RRTPO Policy Board June 4th, 2020 meeting agenda item B6 2045 Long Range Growth Forecast Analysis Report. The data used in this document is based on the data approved by the Policy Board on September 2019 for the base year 2017 as well as the future year 2045 socioeconomic data. Once the data was approved, we do an analysis of the data. This report was previously called AC Data Analysis Report and was a standalone document. This time we are calling it the Long Range Growth Forecast Analysis, and it's a component document for the Connect RVA 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan. This document examines historic trends as well as anticipated projected growth for the future in population, employment, school enrollment, automobiles, and households. The major takeaways from the document: since 1970 to 2017, which is our base year, the Richmond region has doubled its population from almost 500,000 to more than a million population. Chesterfield County, followed by Powhatan County and New Kent County, have experienced the greatest growth if you look at percentage-wise change, whereas Chesterfield County and Henrico have experienced greatest growth in actual numbers. Chesterfield has added around 260,000 people, which is almost the half of all the growth in the region in the last 50 years. Similarly, Henrico County has added 150,000 people. Population is expected to grow at 30% over the next 28 years. That's a very healthy growth rate. The state's growth rate for 2045 is 23%. We are all among the three regions which I know of have the growth rate higher than the state's average. The other regions being Fredericksburg as well as Northern Virginia. Chesterfield is expected to see the largest population growth to 2045, followed by Henrico and Richmond, and this is the actual number of people. If you look at percentage-wise growth, New Kent, Goochland, and Powhatan will see the largest growth. New Kent County is the second fastest growing county in the Commonwealth. Similarly, the major takeaways for employment. Employment has grown by 8% in the last 10 years. That's including the decline we had from 2008 to 2012 because of the Great Recession. Employment is projected to grow by almost 26% over the next 28 years, with a compound annual growth rate of 0.82. That's again very healthy. If you compare Hampton Roads region, their projected employment growth is just 8% over the next 28 years. Chesterfield and Henrico County will have most new jobs. If we look at the percentage-wise growth, the growth would be highest in New Kent, Goochland, and Chesterfield County. The largest employment sectors in the region are healthcare, educational services, accommodation and food services, and retail trade. Based on the current and future density, 20 regional activity centers have been identified, and I'll be discussing this in much more detail in a coming slide. In this slide, we can see a table which summarizes the historic population trend for each locality as well as the regional numbers. We can see that in 1970, Chesterfield had a population of 77,000, and if we see in 2017, the population is 40,000, which is an addition of 260,000 people. Richmond had a peak of the population in 1970s, after which it gradually declined. Since the last 5 years, there has been a reasonable growth in Richmond as well. For the region, 1970, just over 500,000, and now in 2017, over a million population. This table shows the population projected growth from 2017, which is our base year, to 2045, which is the horizon year for the plan. We can see that the growth rate for the whole region is almost 30%, with an annual growth rate of 1.05, which is very healthy. As I mentioned earlier, the state's growth rate for these 28 years is 23%. And if we compare with Hampton Roads, their growth rate for the next 28 years is 11%. This table gives us the employment historic trends from 2008 to 2017. We basically have 3 years of data based on our three socioeconomic data, which we gathered in the last 10 years, for the base year 2008, base year 2012, and the current base year 2017. We can see that in 2008, the region had a total employment of almost around 520,000, which declined in 2012 and reached around 510,000. Again, we had a smooth growth of almost 8% in the last 5 years, with the employment reaching around 550,000 in 2017. We have data for earlier period from other sources like Bureau of Economic Analysis, Bureau of Labor Statistics, as well as from third-party vendors like Woods and Pools. But these are not comparable, as these only have the estimates by the locality level, as well as we have in our data sets. We have employment data at the TAZ level, and sometimes these data sets also include self-employment, which is not included in our data. The way the part-time employment is handled in these data sets is different than what we have handled. The VEC employment data came with the 6-digit NICS code, and we have divided the employment by 2-digit NICS code, which is basically the sector. The 3-digit NICS code is regarded as the industry. So we can see that the major decline is in information sector, which includes newspapers, TV, radio, magazines, etc. Also following the nationwide decline trend is manufacturing and mining. High growth sectors include healthcare, accommodation and food services, transportation and warehousing, as well as utilities. Local governments are included as utilities in the Virginia Employment Commission database. This table shows the top 20 employers in the Richmond region, and no surprises here. Capital One is ranked number one. In 2017, it was ranked number one in 2012 as well. VCU and VCU Health Systems are separate. If combined, it'll become the top employer, but that's how it's recorded in the VEC database. We can see Henrico School Board, Richmond City Public School, Chesterfield County School Board, as well as Henrico County School Boards. We can also see the localities: City of Richmond, County of Henrico, as well as County of Chesterfield. Some major grocery stores like Walmart and Kroger, healthcare facilities like Bon Secure and HCA, SunTrust, and now with the merger with BB&T to become Truist Bank, I think it'll jump the rank pretty soon. State employment is around 20,000, which excluding the educational services. But the way it's recorded in VEC is by the different departments. VDOT being the biggest state employer department, a little more than 2,000 employment in VDOT in Richmond region. There is also a small federal presence. We can see that there's Department of Defense as well as Veteran Affairs in the region. This table shows the employment projected growth from our base year 2017 to 2045. This projection was done by Chumara Economics, which is a Richmond-based, nationally recognized economic analysis firm. So we provided them the 2008, 2012, and 2017 base year data and asked them to project the employment for 2045 by locality and by two-digit NICS code. So they provided that information to us, and that was accepted by the localities. We can see in 2017 the employment is around 550,000, which is projected to become 691,000 in 2045, with a growth rate of almost 26%. This slide shows the map of population and employment growth from base year 2017 to the horizon year 2045. We can see that we have red dots and green dots. The green dots represent, one dot represent 100 people, as well as the red dot, one dot represents 100 jobs. So we can see that the population and employment growth starts from a concentration in downtown Richmond, and then it extends along the major corridors of the region, following major routes of north, I-95 north, I-295, I-64, US 60, US 360, Route 288, Route 150, as well as I-95 south. Based on the TAZ level geography data we collected and projected, we have defined a conceptual density areas in the region. So we have the urban areas, which are defined as areas with the population per square mile of greater than 3,000. Similarly, suburbanized areas are defined as areas with population per square mile between 1,000 and 3,000. And then finally, the rural areas are defined as areas with population per square mile of less than 1,000 people per square mile. So this maps defines the density areas as described in the previous slide. So we can see that the orange area is the urban core, which is mostly Richmond and some parts of Henrico. Then we have the green, which is suburban area, which includes Richmond, Henrico, parts of Chesterfield, parts of Hanover County, and parts of towns of Aston as well. And then finally, rest of the areas are rural area marked by yellow color. As we have defined the density boundaries, we have also defined regional activity centers. So a regional activity center is a conceptual urban planning term that depicts area of concentration of population and employment density. The activity center delineation is based on DRPT's multimodal system design guidelines, which was initially published in October of 2013. So we have used both 2017 as well as 2045 densities to delineate the activity centers. So it would be the mid-year between 2017 and 2045. That year's density has been taken into consideration. So based on the DRPT's multimodal guidelines, we have 6 different activity centers around Virginia. P1, which is the rural or village center, P2, small town or suburban center, P3, medium town or suburban center, P4, large town or suburban center, P5, urban center, and then P6, urban core. In the Richmond region, we have a max of P5, which would be Richmond downtown. We don't have P6 in Richmond region. I think in Northern Virginia, Arlington might qualify for that activity center type. So based on that definition, we have identified 20 different activity centers, as you can see in this map. Along with the socioeconomic data, we also have developed environmental justice data sets. These data sets were developed based on the 5-year American Community Survey for the base year 2017. Areas are designated area of concentration if the population of the traditionally disadvantaged population exceeds the average percentage of the target population in the region. So we have identified 6 different environmental justice data sets. Minority population with a regional average of 41%, low-income population which has a regional average of 11.62%, individuals with disabilities which has a regional average of 11.6% as well, zero-car households 6.8% of households are zero-car households in the region. Elderly population, 13.9% of the population is elderly population, as well as limited English proficiency population, around 2% of the population is LEP. So Connect RVA 2045 will use these areas as a baseline to investigate ways to better include the underserved population in the region through identification of transportation priorities as well as funding opportunities in the plan. This slide shows different examples of environmental justice data sets which was mapped. We have the minority population, the low income population, zero car household, as well as the LEP population map showing in the slide. So we can see that the darker shades in the map are actually the areas of concentration for these environmental justice population. The darker the color, the more concentration of that particular environmental justice population in that area. That is all I have for this presentation. This document 2045 long range growth forecast analysis is available in Connect RVA 2045 website. The link is also provided in your agenda packet. So if you have a chance, please read the document, and if you have any concerns or comments or questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is srl@planrva.org. Thank you.